guess who finished on top? Again.
I don't know. Giselle? Last night? At Dak's place?
Oh yeah? You think this freaking funny guy? You kiss your mother with that mouth?
Cleveland rocks! Cleveland rocks!
What the hell?
Cleveland rocks! Cleveland rocks!
Yeah, more like Cleveland sucks. You're super funny. Funny how? Like I'm a joke? Do I amuse you? No, silly. I think that you're just super. But thanks for asking. Listen, big gay owl. I'm not here for your entertainment. Big gay owl? Excuse me. I'm Jeff Garcia.
Guys, enough. The suspense is killing me. Who's gonna be last in this year's final Showcase Showdown Power Rankings?
You? Yeah, yous guys.
But we just won an NBA title.
Did he just go there? Oh, no, you didn't. You moron! If basketball counted in these rankings, the Knicks would have cinder blocks tied to my ankles, and I'd be swimming with the fishes.
Shh. Here it is. The results are in, and I heard that this year's loser receives a brand new car! Anyways, Rod, I gotta know, who is it? Is it me?
Haha, for once, Drew, it's not you. We actually have a tie. And sharing the bottom spot is Dallas and New England. Come on down. Damn it, what the hell is going on here?
Yeah, kid, why are we down here with these losers? Who picks these power rankings, Roger Goodell?
Well, Goodell loves us. We're America's team.
Well, then who could possibly have the same right to think that we both suck the same?
Damn it, Eli.
Ah, that's wicked retarded.
Meow. Roar. Roar. Meow. Roar.
Is that? I guess Happy Halloween. Is that the curveball? Because just before we went on this call, you said that you're going to be throwing a curveball at me. Is that it, or do we have to wait for later to that?
No, that's later. This was just something that I had lying around because I didn't put her away last night. But I scared the living piss out of a lot of kids last night. It was absolutely.
Let me see it again. What did you say? It's her. So does she have a name? Did you name her?
I didn't name her. No, it's called Demonic Dahlia. This is just her head. She has like a full body, and she literally jumps at you. So she's sitting down, like her hair's down, and then like a motion sensor goes off. She starts talking, and then she lifts her head and jumps at you. It's. I mean, It scares the hell out of me, dude. Like I had like the cable guy show up, and I was just testing it out in the garage, and the cable guy had to go in the garage, open the door, and nearly shit his pants. Like it's a scary chick, dude.
Yeah, man. I think you can tell. You can tell how sadistic parents are by the ones that go to the Halloween store and then just try to jump scare the shit out of their kids. And I'm kind of one of them. And that's when I realized I was like, this is kind of wrong. But still, I went back this year too to do it. And like her name is Dahlia, like out of like the Black Dahlia, or got like her head cut off. Isn't that what happened or something?
No
so
idea.
I feel like they should owe the family some
Dahlia. That's all.
I think they should owe the family some reparations or something. But I don't. Maybe they don't know I don't think they actually know who the family is. Anyway, Happy Halloween. What was your daughter is?
I'm sorry?
I don't know, dude. What was your daughter for Halloween this year?
So there's a cartoon on Netflix called Masha and the Bear. I think it's a Russian one. And, they translate it very well into Spanish. So clearly we're watching that. So my wife's aunt in Colombia made her a dress that looks just like the little girl in the show. And I had to wear a full fucking bear costume in South Florida. And, it's not like it's a nice, crisp, cool Halloween like was when we were growing up north. No. I sweat my ass off, dude, walking like for 3 hours in this gigantic bear costume.
Mm-hmm.
And overall, everybody thought we were the three little bears, and mission not accomplished.
Okay.
But overall, she had a great time, man.
That's good, man. I think I shed a single tear when my oldest went to school dressed as Julian Edelman. And then I shed another tear when I realized, like, I can actually brainwash people, because from up north, down in Florida, you don't do politics, religion for me anyway, but I am brainwashing heavy into the sports, and they are diehard Patriots fan. And to pick Jules, I literally in first grade, this is how long this goes back, and he's in fourth now. I was reading the Julian Edelman Flying High series to him. So it's stuck, man. It's stuck. I have no shame about it. I'll continue to do it. We were rooting hard against the hated New York Jokes this week, and I can't complain, man.
Well, what happened in that game, dude? Because Mac Jones came off a pretty shit performance, getting yanked arguably by the crowd the week before. Tough division game. Nobody really, Jets were flying high for weeks, man. I mean, they shocked the shit out of all of us, but New England marched into New York and kind of had their way. But what do you think was really the deciding factor in that game?
Who the hell knows, dude? But first off, NFL is always like this, right? Like there's always somebody that you think is going to do amazing, and then they suck. So the Jets, there's no way the Jets are going to sustain this for a long time, and there will be someone that comes out and is another pretender. Are the Eagles that? Maybe, maybe not. But I think what happened is, ironically, on Halloween, I think that Zach Wilson saw ghosts, and I don't know if you remember. I don't know if it was last year or the year before. I think it was actually the year before when the Patriots beat him, and I think in the press conference he said he was something about seeing ghosts. So happened again last year. They beat him like 54-13 or something. Halloween again this year. This kid was just like throwing the balls away, and if he protects the ball, and maybe a bad, questionable call that took away a pick six, Mac Jones didn't look great either. So either way, the Patriots have won 13 times in a row. It's been 7 years since the Patriots have lost to the Jets. So that's going to come to an end at some point. It came to an end with Buffalo. It's going to come to an end with the Jets. So they play him in 2 weeks. So hopefully we keep it going and he sees some more ghosts.
Yeah, that one's back up in New England, and I don't know how much of an accomplishment it is to beat the Jets, but I guess it's like a college dude going back to a high school party and picking up a chick. So I guess it's a notch on your belt, but at the end of the day, how much value does it hold? Yeah, man. So Jets dropped the ball. Giants dropped the ball too, man. It seems like both New York teams have their menstrual cycles synced. So they both win consecutively and lose consecutively. So they ended up flying out west. And I couldn't believe this when I saw it, man. But the Giants versus the Seahawks in week 8 was the only game that yielded 2 winning teams. Like, I mean, if you put that into some kind of perspective with all of the teams that we're so used to seeing really, really good at this period of the season, the Green Bays, the Tampa Bays, the Kansas Cities, the Buffaloes, like, yeah, some of them have winning records, but the matchups that they were facing, arguably the best game on paper due to a win-loss record was the Giants and the Seahawks. That was kind of weird, man.
It's been a weird. So we were consulting just because people ask us, like they think we're some sort of experts in this shit, right? And clearly, if you just watch the tape and watch our predictions, we are not. But we get asked like, hey, should I pick this? So that Frank from the Battle Bunnies is asking which win-loss card should we play, and he's got the Colts, the Falcons, the Brown. I don't know. He's got like 3 or 4. So he has some options there, and it's like I don't really know. I guess you kind of safe with the Colts, but really weren't safe with any of them. So it was challenging to pick the win-loss ones for this week, man. So it makes a lot of sense. You had a lot of shitty teams playing shitty teams.
And a lot of division games, man. And this is the 3rd week in a row I'm bringing this point up, but like those division games are coin flips. And, we saw it happen even last night. Joe Burrow comes off of a 4-touchdown game, 400 plus yards, against a stout team. And then all of a sudden completely disappears on Halloween against the division rival in Cleveland. And, his record against Cleveland is not the best, but it was a very dominating performance by Cleveland all the way around.
They finally ran the ball. Like that's what you said this a few weeks ago, either on one of these calls or just like in one of our VR golf games, which I've won 2 in a row. You said that the Browns have one of the best running games and they just haven't really used it. They finally did, and it worked.
It's not just me saying that, right? You look around, the stadium and people are holding up signs that just say, run the damn ball. You have arguably, it's hard to say that anybody's better than Henry at this stage in the game, but you got arguably one of the best running backs in football right now in Nick Chubb. You got one of the best offensive lines. You have a decent enough threat with Amari Cooper now that you can complement a solid running game and keep those safeties kind of perched for that extra split second so the running game can yield 5-6 yards. They're not doing it. I mean, like, even last night, there were certain occasions where Brissett's he's trying to play Russell Wilson. He's trying to dance around the pocket and stuff. And like, he just completely gets decimated, man. And it's like, you're not that guy. Just do your job and hand the ball off. So it was interesting to see, man. I'm glad they actually won the game because like that division is still very much up for grabs. Pittsburgh, they had the unfortunate set of getting crushed by Philly this weekend, but like Baltimore's still in the thick of things. Cincinnati's obviously a player in that. And if Cleveland can make, consistent enough wins, I think that it'll make a nice little run toward the second half of the season. Yeah, Jack, I did see
that. I was trying to do that. I didn't want to interrupt your talk, but I was trying to do this, the breaking news, or something, whatever it is for ESPN. I didn't know this. So I guess you did know this. Maybe you can report it, I guess. I mean, Jack, give credit to Jack for breaking the news here, but
yep. So a couple moves today. Claypool from the Steelers, he ended up on the move too. Where the hell did he end up? Somebody shitty, I think. But anyway, Hawkinson to the Vikings, man, that's huge. Minnesota's had a long track record of some decent tight ends, but Hawkinson's been making some serious moves in the league over the last couple of years, and I just find it weird that they trade him within the division like that. But that's an old hockey mentality, I guess. I don't know.
No, I mean, the Patriots one time they traded Drew Bledsoe to the Bills, and everybody thought that was weird at that point. You don't normally see that, but I guess you know what? Actually, like Wes Welker got traded from the Dolphins to the Patriots, so I guess it happens a lot more than in football.
Yeah, a lot of those moves happen more in free agency than in trades. I mean, football and trades in the season, it's not, especially the bigger names that we're seeing this year, it's not really a common occurrence, right? The other, just to finish the thought on Claypool, he ended up in Chicago. So I don't know why those two teams are trading each other, but I heard Claypool was going to be on the move. I just thought it might be to a contender. No, man, Minnesota making some serious moves, dude, and they're putting foot to ass and going to run away with the division here. Green Bay has just looked awful. They have one player on the entire team. Everybody else isn't doing anything. Detroit is just, I mean, did you watch any of that Detroit game against Miami?
I did not. This one game I did not watch. No.
Okay, 27 points against Miami's defense in the first half. Completely shut out in the second half at home.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this is one of the highest scoring offenses in the league, right? So there's something there, but they just are awful at closing out games. They cannot make necessary adjustments at halftime, and their defense is just invisible, man.
Yep. Yeah, and I mean, Detroit was the number one defensive card. It probably still is after this week. So was the Saints, and that was a huge upset. The Saints at one point, they're definitely not the number one card. I think that the Detroit and the Saints defensive cards, were the number one defensive cards going into this week. Don't know where that stands now, but I can assume Detroit's still the number one card, which, by the way, someone has for sale on the free agency pool. They have both Detroit and New Orleans, but I didn't see that New Orleans one coming one bit.
Dude, Vegas didn't. I said it in the email. Like, they just forgot to get on the damn plane. Like, how do you get shut out against a team like the Saints this year?
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
especially with an offensive genius coach in McDaniels.
An offensive genius coach. You got Josh Jacobs coming off a 3-touchdown performance. Derek Carr just literally needs to throw the ball up in the air for Devontae Adams to catch it.
That seems what Aaron Rodgers did last year, because he's throwing the ball up in the air this year. Just no one's coming down with it.
Nobody's coming down with it, man. So, like, how do you not get any? And you have, and say what you want, you have arguably the best kicker in the game too. But that's the Raiders' MO. They've always had the best place kicker, and they always paid him ridiculous amounts of money too. I can't wrap my head around how a team like that, who, you come off a win, okay, great. You can see the struggles in your division. The Chargers are not killing people. They're squeaking by. Denver is on a thread. Okay, yeah, they won in London this past week, but like, they have some serious issues they need to work out. You can smell the blood in the water in that division. Maybe Kansas City's going to run away with it like everybody predicted, but you have a shot to really become and you just don't show up. The defense was invisible. You couldn't move the ball. The decision makings from Carr were awful.
You're sounding I can hear that the vitriol in your voice, sounding like someone that has season tickets to the Vegas, that your resale value is just getting lower and lower and lower with every McDaniels play call, it seems.
It might be, but on the flip side, it might not be, because people will come to see their team completely decimate that team. So I just, as a season ticket holder, obviously I want them to make playoffs, because then I can, flip more seats and make more money. But that's clearly out of the picture. So yeah, maybe there is some anger in my voice from it. But I just, again, to your point on the card for the Saints, this is a card that, I was gunning for this week. Right, they were the number one defense in the UNfantasy league, and I was going to be on the hunt for it. And by the way, that free agent deal, that trick or treat deal that we announced after this podcast last week, that is ending tomorrow. So we do have all of the free agents on the market right now for 0.01031 ETH, which is our trick or treat price, or 50% off. So if you want to stock up, this is actually a great week to do that with, because it's the first week of 2 that has 6 teams on a bye, man.
Yeah, that is nuts. Yep. Some teams have gotten away with it a little bit because there's only been, 1 or 2 teams on the bye, but it's going to start to catch up to people. Mass holes, I don't know. I mean, he is pulling out the video intro, obviously a flashback from our power ranking stuff from there. The only thing evergreen in that piece is Drew Carey still the host of Price is Right? Like, that was the hardest one to find somebody that was famous from Cleveland to do that voice. I think he's still the host. I don't know. I haven't seen Price is Right since I was a kid homesick from school. But mass holes, I think the theme is mass holes on top of the power rankings in real life back in the day. Now we got some mass hole on the top of this power rankings with over 400 something points. I was looking at it because I've been steadily going up, maybe a little bit down the last couple of weeks, but it looks like he's going to be tough to catch.
But like, dude, as we've seen, anything's possible. I mean, I almost pulled out a top 5 in the weekly standings this week. Dropped a little bit after last night's game, but still, like, I'm creeping up slowly but surely, man. I mean, I think last week I was 40 or somewhere in the high 30s or something, and I'm down in the low 30s. I did cross over my 300 point threshold, so I'll be getting my bonus card this week. Along with everybody else who did not receive it after last week. So I think there's maybe 7 or 8 people who crossed over, including, by the way,
I want to confirm
this.
No,
I want to confirm this, but I think including my wife, who got like 300.2 points, 300.8 points.
Okay.
So by 0.8, she's going to get that card this week. So she's pumped about that. And then, yeah, we're up to 42 teams out of 65 that have eclipsed the 300 mark.
Yeah, and then out of nowhere, someone got added last week, Dan, which I love the name. Dan Snyder's Diary. So the owner of the Redskins, and I guess he's got some secrets in there, but that he's willing to sell, or is using it for protection. And out of nowhere, it just pops up, and he was the weekly winner, right? You want to share the screen? Is that where we're at?
Yes, but before that, I have to do a quick break. Do your breaking news soundbite again.
I don't know if it was okay. Done.
Sports Center, but
what is the breaking news thing? What is it? What should I do?
I don't know. You don't have a.
Let's just see what they said. Like, I don't know, man. Breaking news.
Breaking news. All right. Well, I'll let you search for a soundbite first.
Okay. It's like anything, you go to YouTube, but this is more like newsy news. It's not like Adam Schefter news. But
yeah, it's more like, you got
to put me on the spot here. Come on, man. What you
got? Bradley Chubb, all pro linebacker from the Denver Broncos, is heading to South Beach, man. For a first rounder. So Miami opened their wallets. Clearly they don't like what they're seeing on their defense, and he's going to have an immediate impact. But I think the Dolphins are also one of those teams that are recognizing the status of the division. And I don't know, man. I think they feel they have a shot too. I don't know how Tua is going to, be that guy this year, but they have clear weapons around them. Their coaching staff is question marks, but now they're just adding more and more and more tools to that team, man. Like if I were the Jets, if I were New England, I'd be careful. They already have a win under their belt against Buffalo, but Miami can pull some strings together in the second half, and they can make an easy run for it here.
Yeah, I'm not really a fan. I don't think Miami's going to prove it to me, but that's good. That's breaking news, and next time I'll be ready with a breaking news. I guess I didn't even know it was trade deadline today. Really, I've just been doing a million other things. But
again, it's not something that's very common in football, right? It's not like the hockey trade deadline when you have the scroll or the ticker on the side of your screen because guys are moving all over the place. I mean, this is usually something that happens on draft day.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, I will share the screen. We'll run through some of the standings here.
All right. Straight Ethomi, which was my favorite name, I think. And
isn't it ETH?
Nope, Straight Ethomi. He moved up 45th place by doing nothing. I think that was one of the goals here for us to make sure when we designed this thing, it was not as intensive manually as regular fantasy football. But still got to play, man. Still got to play.
Yep. So, as you mentioned, Masshole's running the ship right now, man. They're up by a decent enough margin of about 50 points. Surviving the Survivor, popping in second, misinterpreting the rules. Very happy Spartan. I mean, you look at where we were on this list a couple weeks ago, man. You had Bored to Death Club. That was the first to reach that 300 threshold. They've kind of fallen off the map here. Some of their win-loss cards haven't really played itself out the way they wanted it to. Dan Snyder's Diary, there's the guy you were talking about, man. Like this, fresh into the league, popping up and, already in the top 20, solidified the victory this week. So Dan Snyder's Diary will be getting those 2 playing cards. Mac Jones in for points too, man, making a push for it. This is the second week in a row in the top 2. Came out of nowhere last night and, solidified that spot.
Was in dead last a couple weeks ago.
Dead last. And
moved up. What place is that now? I can't see from here.
18th.
Wow.
18th place.
Where am I? Okay, you don't have to scroll down too hard. Like, you don't have to scroll that dramatically anyway. No, I'm not down that way. I'm up.
Hang on, I gotta stretch my finger out. Okay. I guess you are up.
Yeah.
There you go. 14th.
14th. See.
But yeah, I mean, look, it's Dugby finished dead last this week, but he's still in the top 20. This is the type of league that you can bounce all over the place, and we saw the juggling and the jumble of the bottom ranked teams last night after halftime. After halftime, everything got thrown in a blender and hit frappe towards the bottom of the standings here. So, any game, any half, anything, any of these teams that these people have in play, man, I mean, they can juggle these standings pretty significantly.
I love how you put up here on the site the teams that are having the bye. So was it Cleveland?
Yeah, this week we got 6 teams. Like again, this is going to be one of the heavy, let's make some move weeks in fantasy, and that's one of the reasons why we left the trick or treat deal live until tomorrow to give people an opportunity to scoop up some of those off the free agent market. But we have Cleveland, Dallas, Denver, the Giants, Pittsburgh, and San Francisco. So 6 teams on the bye this week. I guess this kind of caps off exactly half the teams that already had their bye. So the teams that have not had their bye will obviously have it over the coming weeks, with the exception of Thanksgiving, where everybody will play. But I mean, one of the things that really stands out to me all the time is just understanding the point category totals and where those people sit as part of the standings, right? So if you look at the win-loss column, we've always stressed the importance of this card. Everybody that has the top performing cards in that category or played the top performing cards, I mean, they're easily in the top 20. Penalties, we're looking at a total of 60 as the top one. I mean, even what Mac Jones in for points, still top 20. Special teams, 117 points. That's Massholes. I really think that's one of the deciding factors on why he's claiming that spot. He's 5 points away from misinterpreting the rules thereafter, but these are some of the underlying cards that could potentially make the difference here.
Well, he's got the Jaguars as offensive loss card, surviving the Survivor in second place because they have freaking, who would have thought, they have Tampa Bay as the win-loss card that's allowed them to get to where we're at. Even Little Giants, who's popped right up pretty nicely here because Green Bay in the win-loss card. Who is Mass Holes? You say offensive card was the one that they're rocking?
Special teams. Yeah. So let's see who they have. Let me open a new tab here. See who they have starting in their as their special teams.
Just type it in.
I should have.
It's like one of those
Washington
now. Washington.
Yep.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, I completely blew up my lineup this week, and I left Washington in, and it sucked. It didn't help me one bit, but I completely blew up my lineup. And you thought I was just playing with my heart. I was playing with my head for it.
I mean, you were, because it worked out for you. If it didn't work out for you, it would have been a different story. But I know secretly you weren't going to allow the Jets card to sit on your bench when you knew they were playing New England.
It's a bold move. It's a bold move if you think about that. I mean, you look at this. So the Packers as offense.
Oh, come on. They were going against Buffalo. You knew they were going to get crushed. I would have played that card.
I mean, I had the Commanders offense too. And I would have been better off playing that, frankly, but I had it. So it was a bold move, to say the least. And I do want to shout out because Linda, we were trying to make a trade, which I guess you like went around behind my back and like stopped the trade and made your own trade with Linda. But I will say during that trade, I didn't really know. I wasn't paying attention on some level because I had the number one penalty cards, Denver, on my bench. And she was like, she mentioned that I don't think she meant to. I was just playing hardball negotiator, and she said, "Well, that's the number one penalty card," and it was. So she helped me up my lineup a little bit indirectly.
Yeah, well, ironically, she has the highest point total on defense with her own Steelers team. So she's been playing this game extremely well. So all weekend, I was getting messages from her on literally every platform: Telegram, text message, email, saying, "Hey, let's make a trade. What do we got for the trade? I want my Kansas City card back."
He played me.
So I was like, "Yeah, let's get the deal done." And she's like, "Yeah, John's gonna be pissed because we're supposed to be working out a deal." And I'm like, "Okay, now we got to do it even faster." So it was fun. It was fun. I got the San Francisco card. Penalties. I'm really a fan of that logo. I just really wanted it for my collection anyway. But I got to offload the Kansas City card, which I don't know. That might not be the best card to play coming down the stretch here.
Yep.
But yeah, the Steelers worst. Her playing the Steelers, I guess, a couple weeks in a row got her some significant points on defense. And then offense, surviving the Survivor, Mass Holes. I believe, what do we say that was? That was Indianapolis. They have the most turnovers. And that was, I guess, before they benched Matt Ryan. So that's really one of the main reasons why they're up there, because you get a significant amount of points for turnovers. You get those plus 10 points for every giveaway. So that's really what put them at the top right there.
And then if you have a card in your that has a card in your lineup that has a bye week, it's just 0 points for it. So I know somebody specifically that just didn't have a good card that they wanted to play, so they just took the 0 instead of the -5, which I think is kind of a cop out. But yeah, you just get a 0.
I don't know, man. It's strategic at some level. I think we talked a little bit about this last week.
The upside, -5 versus 25, you got to go with that, I think.
I agree, but that sounds like something you say at a rehab center for gamblers. But some people just like to ride it if they're comfortable with their point total. Who knows? Or they just didn't set their lineup, or they picked the wrong team. We try to, obviously with the both Los Angeles teams had buys over the last few weeks. Hopefully nobody got confused with that, but the New York teams were just going to throw either a G or a J there for the Giants and the Jets, just to make sure that it's clear on which team is on the buy. And again, free agency, we got these things at 50% off heading into the end of tomorrow. So what normally is $30 on the website, or 0.01 ETH on OpenSea, you can scoop these up at a pretty significant discount. And you got Carolina's defense here, the Raiders defense, which we just saw implode. I mean, there's some really good cards that are still here. So
yeah, and
I'm going to be making a visit there tomorrow.
Yeah, man. And I think one of the things that we this is an NFT project, a digital collectible project. You don't need to, and we have people that play it that know nothing about this stuff and have no interest. They just like playing the game. But it is that. So one of the things that you've been doing, man, just being a rock star and building the smart contracts and things and allowing different options. But you have an option you have it where people can buy on OpenSea through straight ETH homie or whatnot, right? Or they can use straight cash homie on the website. And obviously, as all of these connected, and Frank is like looking for attention, he's saying his comments aren't showing up, but they're here, man. We got you. And your birthday was October 24th. It's in my calendar now, so I won't forget again. But you set this up where everybody says Web 2.5, but the reality is you set this up where people can kind of come on here and pay with a card, or they can go the way with OpenSea from there. And eventually we'll set it up where, because right now there are cards that are owned by others, like the Flag on the Play all day, and Black Hammer has the two really strong defensive cards up for sale, but that's on theirs, and you can only buy through ETH. But eventually, we were talking about it this morning, I think, in the VR Golf, which I've beaten you the last 2 times.
Second time you mentioned that here.
No, you can say that stuff, like the news does the same.
Okay.
Jack knows.
You win 2 games, you lose 50, and like all of a sudden we're even.
Okay.
Got it.
All right. Anyways, I will say that we were talking about it in VR Golf, which I've beaten the last 2 times. We were talking about, eventually we'll have this set up and it'll be integrated on some level. For now, it'll be a manual process where people you can do both. If someone lists it up there, we can have it up here. And I think those are the things we'll be talking about in top secret with some of the stuff we're doing in Battle Bunnies and all that stuff, which again, separate from this, but congrats, man. The Ghost Bunnies and some of those were giveaways inside of and one inside of this league that just ended, and you rocked that, man. So congrats on there. Congrats to all the people in the UNfantasy League that jumped in on that. Blue Man came in at the last minute and snagged 13 of those puppies. And he you 5 Valkyries, which gives him 5 eggs. I digress, different stuff. But the point is like when you partner with different communities and the giveaways and the stuff we talk about with Unmeta Athletes and the Vayner Sports Pass and all these things, like if this fantasy football or unfantasy football becomes like nothing we've ever seen before, where there's just value stacked on value stacked on value. And so some of the value that people that won a Spartan got also a free Ghost Bunny mint. And here we are.
Yeah, I mean, there's that value on value is something that I think that we're really stressing here. But I mean, this UNfantasy project has opened up our eyes to a few different elements, and I don't want to get too technical. I mean, we've said this from the beginning that all we really wanted to do was have fun here, and we wanted to break down any barriers for people that aren't accustomed to Web3 or they're not used to football or anything like that. We wanted to create a game that was easy, simple, a different way to look at football. Add some digital collectibles on the side. If you don't have it, we'll store it for you. We'll onboard you. We've done that on multiple occasions here. But one of the really cool things that really separates this project from really anything that I've seen out there, and we're slowly but surely starting to incorporate that on some of the other projects we're involved, like the Battle Bunnies, is this whole notion and concept of dynamic metadata. And I really like that term, and I think we should start utilizing it a little bit more. But that's really the ability to on-chain update all of the statistical and the different components that are associated with each of the particular NFTs or digital collectibles. So, I mean, for those of you who don't know, if you actually go to your OpenSea profile and you click on any of the cards that you hold, you will see their stats updated. We take the time and we do this pretty much after each batch of games on Thursday night, on Sunday night, and then again on Monday night to wrap up the week. So you can see the date that it's last updated, which in this case was after last night's game. And then the total points versus whatever the maximum is in that particular scoring category. So we're introducing all of these different dynamic metadata points that really should help encourage different projects to open up their thought process on, different game mechanics that can be associated with this, different trait attributes. I mean, we're getting into the weeds a little bit here, but like the point is we are really testing out the waters on some cool stuff. And, it's awesome to use a project like this, which is sports related. It's very heavily statistical related in an effort to try to put this forward.
Hell yeah, man. Good stuff. And it's gotten attention, I think. I mean, I don't know, but I think Dan Snyder's diary, this is not someone that we personally know in our network. I think somebody, I got a screenshot of I think a group communication of some level where someone was talking about dynamic metadata, which just means the stats change, right? It's the metadata and the numbers in there are changing, and it's perfect for this league. But they were talking about us, and that's literally how this dude found us, I believe, and then just kind of jumped in for it. So very cool, man.
Let's use him as the guinea pig, because we showed the cards, and the cards could easily switch owners. But for now, I mean, you're the owner of your team, right? Like, you are the owner of this franchise, and those statistics on whatever cards you play week to week go along with your franchise, and that adds value to your franchise. So over time, if you decide, hey, I want to sell all of my cards in association with my franchise, the amount of points accumulated and the amount of cards that you've achieved or won or purchased, all of that adds a tremendous bundled package that you can offload your franchise to potentially somebody who wants to join the league.
Yeah, I mean, that we were chatting about that, man, is because all this stuff just allows you to do way more things than we even thought possible. And it just gives you some different ideas as well, because we weren't thinking about this thought process 6-7 years ago, and we started saying, like, hey, how could we make a fantasy football league with using our UNFan logos, and this is really what it's allowed us to do, is just kind of think differently. And I've had a blast with it.
Yeah, it's been fun. So let's just talk about the week 8 standings real quick here. We mentioned the most of it, but just to kind of shed it and put it into the history books for good. Congratulations to Dan Snyder's diary, knocking out the victory for the week. I mentioned that they will be getting those 2 playing cards after the podcast today. Mac Jones in for unpoints, making its way to the top 2 again. You're going to be getting another card. I believe you got 2 last week for winning. And then Dougby dropping all the way down. We're going to help you out, and we're going to shoot you over a couple cards as well to try to boost you out of the basement. Other than that, I mean, a lot of jumbled in the middle. There I am, top 10. I was happy about the Bears getting crushed by the Cowboys this week, so that really gave me a boost. But all important, that win-loss card, man. Like, you just see 25 everywhere here. Here you go. This is the first one. 34th place was somebody that ended up losing.
Yeah, and if you can quickly show, and I guess it's kind of top secret because it's not like a published site, part of the site anyway, but if you can quickly go to that unfan.xyz/marketers, this is something, I guess, that since Frank and Krista are here and Jackson, part of the Battle Bunnies community. So this is the Tilt, which is the Tilt coin, Joe Polizzi's Content Inc. Legend, and Rise coin, Mark Schaefer's Rise, and marketing legend also. These are people that are in this league, and as they're competing for the main league 65, they're also we're going to do some like division stuff here, which is kind of cool. So I think what we'll end up doing is there's total of points, and we'll work with both communities to figure out the coins or the rewards or something that will come from those communities, and kind of put some stuff in the pool. But I was thinking, I think top 3 make the playoffs, and first seed in each division gets a bye. The next 2 play each other. Seeds 2 and 3 play each other. The winner of that plays the 1 seed. Winner of that goes head to head in the Super Bowl of Tilt versus Rise. So it's a different way. It's the exact same game. Everybody that's a part of it is playing it the exact same way, but it's a new spin. It's a game within a game for not having to do any other effort too, which is super cool. So I think one, if you have other leagues and stuff that we want to set us up, like I set up a family one. There's a Battle Bunnies one that is getting, I guess, a custom Dead Boy from Bored to Death, Javi on here. But there's some really cool things that we can do here now and in the future. So this is the super secret marketer league that we have.
Looks like you took the versus sign from Street Fighter.
I was gonna say Mortal Kombat, but yes, I don't know, man. This is actually a page that I threw together. You just gave me the keys a little bit. That's why it doesn't look as nice and crisp as yours. I will say I do all the damn thumbnails for these things, which I think they're pretty fire. I think this last this last one is pretty good. The last two have
You're
been pretty
becoming
good.
a Canva expert here, man.
Yep.
So
Yep, because I have Captain Falcons on this name on the team that has literally done Canva tutorials live with me here. So,
well, the whole
anyways,
Sauce team in general, right? Anything creative content wise, I mean, they're the go-to source on that. If you don't know about the Sauce, search the Sauce and then sign up for that newsletter because it's worth a cup of coffee and a read every week for sure.
yep. Cool, man.
So yeah, look, I just want to expand on one quick point with this, man, because this is really where we see this league kind of heading, right? I mean, this is a platform with a game mechanic, but ultimately, this is the type of platform where we want to say, hey, grab 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 friends, whatever it is, and let's start our own little league, and let the points just fall where they may, and let the moves be made wherever they may be made. But ultimately, we're not going to have one gigantic standings pool year after year, where you can either be in first place or all the way down in 65th place. We want you guys to obviously personalize it, customize it, create these leagues within the league, and then obviously have a different type of experience by using the UNfantasy platform.
And this is I was starting to go this a little way before I thought I was putting some sentences together, and then I pulled like a Dory moment or a goldfish moment where I just like, what the hell was I even talking about? And just shut up and threw it back to you, which you took and handled nicely. But what I was saying about the owner's pass, how it has your all-time score. I look at this as a franchise, right? And we were talking about this. And so the ability is you have weekly stats, which allows anybody to come on at any point, right? Someone come on week 12, whatever, come on now, and their scores are retroactive. So like, just like Dan Snyder's diary, they have the ability, the potential, depending on what they pull, to jump up there. There's obviously the annual rewards and stuff, and we have some cool trophies and really cool things planned on the annual side. But then back next year, man, your points are going to carry over. So I feel like we're building a valuable franchise that could be sellable if you wanted to. You could, I don't know. There's a lot of different things, but there's just so many possibilities and doors that we can do with this thing. This is not your average fantasy football thing. It's not really average anything. I guess that's we don't really do anything average anyway, but there's so many damn things that we can do. And it's been cool. We're week 8 and very far along, and we're thinking, 8 light years ahead too.
Yep. So we are approaching the midway point of the actual season. And this is the curveball that I guess I wanted to throw at you. Yes. You and I have not talked about this.
So before, just so anybody's on here, like literally 3 seconds before we're about to go live, you say, I have a curveball I'm going to throw at you. And I was like, okay, so here we are. Now here it is. Thank you. It's also stalling a little bit to get ready for it, but here you go.
I know you had to prep yourself. You had to, get a sip of water. I get it. But look, bottom line is, man, we're halfway through the season, right? It's been an unbelievably successful season. I've been having a blast. I mean, we got so many people that are super into this and like hitting us up all the time. The feedback has been tremendous. And one of the things that you and I talked about from the very beginning here was not really messing with the game mechanic, the score mechanic, right? We spent a lot of time, a lot of effort trying to like piece this thing together. Obviously it's going to be tweaked. There's going to be some things that are going to be adjusted as we continue to move forward. But as far as the scoring, we really didn't want to mess with it. Mm-hmm. And I thought, halfway through the season, people are super into this. They like it. They love the logos. They love the concept. Why don't we just throw something out that doesn't have a direct impact on the score, but it could? And here's my thought.
Okay.
My thought is to mint a series. Let's call it 65 tokens, or maybe we create less. We create a wild card of each team, and then we make it available. So, for example, if you had the Jets wild card, you can play that in any of the scoring categories. Now, that scoring category still yields the same points, but you can bounce that particular team from category to category if you hold that wild card.
Okay. I'm a slow learner with this stuff. So so how would people get the hands of this wild card?
That's what we just need to arm wrestle and figure out the best strategy for. But I wanted to bring it up live here because obviously I wanted to put you on the spot.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's going to be an interesting play to try to get your hands on specific cards in an effort to play them week to week. Now, I'll argue that there shouldn't be a limit on how many of the wild cards you could play. So if you need to go out hunting for more wild cards, you can make some trades, you can make some offers, trying to encourage, people to start thinking a little outside the box here and not be subjected to the standard win-loss. Maybe you have a win-loss card that's not performing, but they're overperforming in offense and you just don't have your hands on that card. This is kind of an opportunity to swing that.
Okay. But walk through it here. What's the process? Is it we mint them? Do we just send them to them? Do we mint them into the free agency wallet? Do we, is there a draft?
We could do it at random. I have no problem doing it at random and a draft, so we can mint them randomly, and then obviously have some sort of a draft order, a mid-season draft that gets everybody at least one of the wild cards. And we can throw a couple in the free agency pool and put those for sale. Those will probably be a little bit more expensive, just because they hold more value. But I'm throwing a monkey wrench into the exhaust fan and just seeing how many sparks I can light here.
Okay, I like it. What's cool, and look, yeah, we chatted about not messing with the game mechanics as we go because we spent want to make sure that we uphold the integrity of the game, as Roger Goodell would say, with the deflated footballs. But there's a lot of really cool things that we're going to do with this stuff, and definitely there's some cool things we're going to do this with season 2 that we didn't do here. We kind of kept it more simple, but there was some talk about having team logos in different team colors. So, the Giants logo could be in the Jets colors or something along those lines, right? So there's some rarity, there's some randomness and rarity into that I think, what would these wild card look like? Or is there something along the vibe that I'm throwing at you now that could mix it up a little bit?
So, I mean, this is all in my head 3 minutes before we started this, right? But the thought that I had is that there's so much, these cards are the special ones, right? Like we don't want to misconstrue the rarity, because obviously we know the creamsicles are the rarest in the collection. Those will obviously have the most important value. The thought process behind this is mostly around the game mechanic.
Right. So the backgrounds they're not to do with the game mechanics, and that's the rarity of the backgrounds, and that's where we've had utility there. But the game mechanics is different too, right? So really, there's the rarity, I guess, or the value of the game mechanics is having like the best card, like the Detroit defense is the best card at this given time to have at this very moment. But it doesn't matter what background that has for the game.
Correct. And in a scenario like this, you would actually be kind of like between a rock and a hard place on what position you would want to play that Detroit card in. Are they going to have a bad defensive performance? Are they going to lose the game? Are they going to get a lot of penalties? Like, this adds a whole different element on what you can do as part of setting your lineups. But what does it look like? I mean, in my head, honestly, what I wanted to try to do was put together a 3D logo and just make that on the card and call it a wild card or something.
Mm-hmm.
And whatever the points, whatever position you put that card in on your weekly lineup, obviously the points will still hold true. You'll still get those plus 10 points for all the turnovers, minus 0.1 for the points scored if you play that card on offense, and et cetera down the line.
So it's a 3D logo. Let's just say it's the Jaguars logo. It's a 3D Jaguars logo is what you're saying. And then you can use that logo in any spot in the lineup, all 5 categories.
All 5 categories. You can use that card in one category if you hold that one card.
Yes. Yeah.
So again, just throwing out random ideas here, but I think it's a good place to do it halfway through the season. It could definitely keep people on their toes with respect to making decisions on their particular lineups. I think a lot of people are going to start second guessing their decisions that they make with that wild card as well. And I also think that it adds tremendous value to teams like Kansas City, who, maybe they don't have the best defense, or maybe they can, get you some solid points on special teams. So if you end up getting that card as part of the draft lottery, there still is a potential to hold it, even though you might not want to play them for offense or win-loss.
Mm-hmm. So a few ways I could see this happening, I guess, right? I'm just riffing as you literally put me on the spot with it, but I love it. This is literally these calls we have. And usually I love that we're live because people can see. Usually you're just like, you're a little grumpy and you're a little, they're not as nice and cordial. These conversations are, you're very jovial in these live calls. So usually you're saying I'm making it way too complicated, but the way I see it is we could give whatever's on your owner's pass. They could get the wild card that they could get as one potential. We could just mint some randomly to the free agency. That's one potential. We could do some sort of draft, which I think would be hard to get everybody coordinated, but just throwing that out there. And you could do, last is gets the first one to help. But I don't know. So there's those options. What other options do you see, or do you see specific one?
You know what I want as an option? I want to hear from everybody in the league on what they want to do. I want to see what kind of thoughts you have as part of getting, these cards, at least one card in everybody's hands. Do you want to have a draft? Do you want to have an auction? Do you want to have some sort of a system where I think they call it a Dutch auction where
I like it. You can do the Dutch auction thought, just people get the Dutch auction stuff.
Yeah, so a Dutch auction, just so people who don't know, it's basically you take this asset, you put it up, and you start the clock. And then every couple minutes or every couple seconds, whatever we decide to do as part of the time frame, the price will drop. And it'll continue to drop, and it'll continue to drop, and until somebody purchases it. So basically, you're going up against, however many people are in on the auction, and, you basically have to outthink them and think when they are planning on purchasing it and try to grab it sooner if you want that card.
It's definitely cool I wouldn't want to do it with this one, but it's definitely cool for other projects and stuff like that. I think I would want to make sure that we can get them in the hands of, I think it would be cool to get them in the hands of people in some sort of randomness or draft side of stuff. So it's either the owner's pass, or we do another random one, which I think is probably the owner's pass, because that's random anyway, or we do another random one, or we do starting at the bottom and they get a certain amount of time to just pick their card that they want. That could be kind of cool. And if they don't pick it in time, it just skips over to the next one. That seems like a lot of logistics to get by the next week, but it is something that we did think about going forward, and maybe next year having some sort of cool draft with all the people that are jumping in on the inaugural season.
So let's plan it out. I mean, week 9 is the halfway point, right? So let's plan this out to try to get it, pretty much finalized by the end of this coming week's games. Let's spend the week on Telegram, kind of bouncing around different ideas with everybody, and let's see what everybody has to say about it. But I think it's definitely a wild card in the mix of the.
I like it. Cool. Let's do it. What else do we have here?
Well, I mean, did you want to cover this week's games? I mean, there's obviously 3 less games on the schedule.
All right, so we can shoot through it real quick. I think Perfect. Linda says that she likes those things, and Linda's going to jump on one of these with us as well. And I didn't know this, but I guess she had an old Facebook series where she educated people that didn't know much about football. So the scenario she gave me was, if it's fourth down and 4, and you were at this part of the field, why would you punt it, or would you do field goal? Like, for people that didn't kind of know. So that's kind of cool. I had no clue that any of that stuff. Didn't know that Linda was doing those things. So I feel like she's got to jump in here and help us out.
That's one of my all-time favorite jokes that we did back in the day was, the Jets put out that message, I guess, on Twitter to their fans. And it's like, hey, they're trying to be like, put the fans in the coaching seat, and they're trying to be all like engaged with the fans. They're like, hey guys, 1st and goal on the 1-yard line. We're down by 6. What play do you call? And the most common play that was answered was punt. Like that speaks volumes to where that team is, where they've come from. But all right, well, breaking in here, man. I mean, not only are there 3 less games, but there's probably games that, are not going to merit much interest. The 7-0 Eagles go into Houston. This potentially has upset written all over it, but I see Houston continuing to lose.
Houston loses, but I don't think the Eagles are for real.
It's interesting, but we'll see. Buffalo heads into East Rutherford. Do the Jets lose 2 critical division games at home?
I guess we're looking at the different. Where is that one? Okay, Buffalo. Jets lose.
Right to left to right. But.
Jets lose. Jets lose.
Yeah, I say Jets lose too. Buffalo is just they're firing on all cylinders. Although Josh Allen made a couple very stupid mistakes this past week that he shouldn't have made and made that game closer than it should have.
He always does that, man. He's always good for interceptions. So that's why he's off the Bills offensive card is not the worst offensive card given the amount of points that they put up. It's not like the Kansas City Chief offensive card. You can actually get some good points out of it.
Yep. Carolina heads to Cincinnati. Does Cincinnati bounce back at home?
I love that people are jumping in here and Mac Jones for points is jumping in here and putting in here then with their own picks, which is good because they're the real experts. Obviously, she's way ahead of us the last couple of weeks. You said Carolina?
Carolina at Cincy.
Yeah, I have no clue about Cincinnati these days. What the hell, man? I feel like Cincy. I feel like Carolina loses.
I feel Carolina loses too, man. But over the last couple of weeks, dude, they've lost almost everybody with the exception of DJ Moore, who literally could be on the move today. And granted, it was against Atlanta, a division game, but that went to overtime. That came down to the wire, man. They're really playing much better without some of their firepower that they got rid of.
Mm-hmm.
Green Bay heads to Detroit. I'm going to say the Packers keep losing, man.
No, Detroit loses that one. So Chris Dickens is going to still have a good week is my thought.
Yeah, division game. I still, those things scare the hell out of me. Indianapolis goes to Foxborough.
Colts lose.
Somehow, seeing these two teams brings back a lot of memories, but it's not as exciting as it once was, huh?
Hell no. I mean, you had Brady and Manning, so it used to be much must-see TV. Not like that anymore.
Yeah, so I say the Patriots lose.
Right.
I say their defense steps. Indianapolis's defense steps up. I almost called them San Diego. LA flies across the country for face off in Atlanta against the Falcons. I say Falcons. Actually, what's his name is coming back this week? Cordero Patterson. I say the Chargers lose.
Yeah, crazy. I mean, I'm going to say Atlanta loses, but
it's a 1:00 game too. Don't forget. So they're coming in from the West Coast. That's going to feel like a 10 a.m. game. Raiders fly across and play Jacksonville at 1:00. So let's see. Maybe they'll catch the flight this time. I say Jaguars lose. Although they've been playing good at home.
I say Jaguars lose, but that's so hard. I would not bet against that game at all.
Yeah, that's going to be one of those tough games to play because you got those two good teams that you don't know how to pick. You got the division games. You don't know the two shit teams like this, man. This is tough.
And this is Massholes. One of the reasons it's been riding high is one of the reasons is that he's got the Jags, and it didn't look good at first. That's why he wasn't up there because they started out 2-1 or something like that, but they're 2-5 now, or 2-6 or whatever. So, but I don't know. I guess I picked Jacksonville to lose.
Miami heads up to Soldier Field. Both teams obviously just made some moves at the deadline. Chicago shipped off their defensive stud
to Miami. Oh no, Broncos did that
to Baltimore.
Yeah, that's right.
And I guess they got Chase Claypool. Who the hell knows what he's going to do? But I say the Bears lose.
Bears lose. Fortunately.
Minnesota and their brand spanking new tight end head to the DMV area, take on the Commanders. I still can't call them the Commanders. It's weird.
Mm-hmm.
But I say Minnesota keeps riding this high horse, man. And Washington, they pulled one out of their ass last week, but I think their victory parade is over. I think they lose.
I still can't believe you don't know who Mark Rippon is. But I say the Commanders lose.
Battle of the Birds. Seattle heads over to the desert, faces off in the Cardinals. Arizona's been playing like shit. A lot of expectations on that offense, man, and they've not performed well. I don't know what Murray's deal is or anything, but Seattle's been playing very well. They got their shit together after losing that heartbreak opening game against Denver. They won that game. against Denver. So they had a couple faulted games, and they've kind of bounced back. They beat the Giants this past week. I say the Seahawks march in and win.
First off, what a power move, I guess, of Geno Smith dedicating it to his former Giants coaches when he beat the Giants, which is funny, right? So McAdoo, all these guys that got shit on, but believed in him. He dedicated that game after beating the Giants with these new guys and Dayball and stuff like that. So power move, riding high. I also love seeing his post game interview where he was talking about just Seattle embracing him and how he loves the city, and it's like that's amazing. Like the connection that cities can get to athletes. I just love seeing that stuff. Like Isaiah Thomas, the old Celtics player, not the old Pistons player. It was cool, kind of him coming in here and getting that connection is just one guy that comes to mind. But Geno Smith seems to definitely have it with Seattle.
There's a couple of those types of quarterbacks around in different teams this year, man. Guys that, like, I guess were either written off or, just kind of got traded or, left in free agency, ended up on these new teams and are actually starting. I mean, Jacoby Brissett's being one of them for Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, Geno Smith. I think Marcus Mariota can be in that category at some point. I mean, this is the third team Mariota has played for, and I think it's the first one, other than the first couple weeks in his time in Tennessee, that he's actually starting. So it's cool to see that those guys are still around, man. They're still that, mid to lower level tier, and as part of, like, comparing the rest of the league, but they can be easily embraced by those fans, and it's good to see that Geno found a home there.
Yep. I will say Arizona loses that.
Rams fly across the country and face off with Tampa. These are two teams that are just hurting for a win, man. I don't know. This is one of those ones that I can't predict one way or another. I think Tampa definitely got hurt defensively this past week. I don't know if he's gone for the year, but I think Shaq Barrett has a torn Achilles or strained Achilles or something, but he's definitely not going to play. The Rams defense has been shit. So I don't know what to expect from them, especially flying across the country. Obviously, everybody's talking about Brady's drama. I'll let you make the first pick on this one, dude, because I have no idea.
I don't know, dude. I mean, I'm going to pick the Rams to lose, but I have no clue what the hell I'm talking about with it. So it's just me with my Brady underpants on.
I'll say the Bucks don't win. I'll say that Stafford comes in and just he does enough to beat that team offensively. But it has the potential to be a pretty high scoring game.
Yep.
Here's the game of the week, man. Tennessee at Kansas City. Titans have come alive. They dropped the first two games and have won ever since. I think the turning point in their season up until this point was absolutely getting demolished and embarrassed in Buffalo on, I believe it was either Sunday night or Monday Night Football. But either way, it was a national stage and they just got crushed. And, they've done everything right since. Henry has really stepped up. What did he have? 200 plus yards this past week. First time in God knows however many years that he's pulled off multiple games like that. They are forced to be reckoned with, man. And, don't forget, they got rid of a lot of key guys. AJ Brown is gone for them. They've had to fill some voids, and, say what you want about Tannehill. Clearly they're getting the job done. I think they've won 5 or 6 in a row already. So that's going to be a great game at Arrowhead on Sunday night, man. Yeah.
I mean, Kansas City always loses a game that you don't expect also at some point in the season, and then people ride them off and then they kind of come back anyway. But I'm going to say that Tennessee loses that game if I had to guess.
I say Kansas City loses that game at home. I mean, if I'm looking at this spread correctly, dude, it shows a 12.5 point cushion that they're giving them. So that might actually, if you're a betting guy and, you're playing the spread, I mean, that might be one to take a closer peek at if you wanted to place a bet this week. Baltimore heads into the Superdome. Are the Saints for real, or did they just fall into the lap of the depleted Raiders?
Yeah, I could say the Saints lose on this one.
I think the Saints lose too. Although Lamar has not really made the best case for MVP over the last couple of weeks, the team is it is performing decently. They still need that receiver, man. I hope they can make a move today. I think the deadline's in 22 20 minutes or so, 24 minutes. So there's still some key guys out there, man. I heard Jerry Judy's name thrown around a lot. That could be somebody that could easily complement a good slot receiver for Lamar to play with. But, you know, I stand by. I still think they should have went after McCaffrey. Speaking of what the hell that guy did this week, did you see that? He threw a touchdown, caught a touchdown, and ran a touchdown. It was the first time since.
I did not see that.
Dude, I thought we were finishing each other's sentences. It's
No,
the first time since LaDainian Tomlinson, bro. Like, there's a name that we haven't heard in a while. Huh?
You know what, dude? I heard that, but then I thought, I guess he did. But I remember like David Patton. I guess maybe even before that, but David Patton did that against the Colts years ago. So I thought he was the last guy to do that stuff. But I did hear that. And I was confused with it. So,
well, I mean, you know, LT, I feel like he did that at least once a season. You know, that was maybe the deciding factor on it, but you just don't see that type of gameplay from running backs like you used to.
Yep.
Yes, it is romantic. It is romantic. Thank you, Lynn.
So that's it, man. I think it's fun. I guess we have to get back to people and figure out what this wild card looks like, but I guess we have some chatting to do.
Yeah, put some thought into it, guys, and let us know. Hit us up in Telegram. Let us know, you know, I mean, the idea, I guess, is kind of where we're heading. Everybody kind of agrees, and, you know, we heard some of the comments here, but one of the things we definitely want to pick your brain on is the distribution element of it. How do you guys want these cards distributed? How do you want them to be determined on which teams they get? Let's collectively get together and let's figure this out. And then obviously we'll figure out a strategy to make them become available. Where if, you know, somebody holds a card that you want and you don't have access to try to make an offer, maybe we can play the escrow account and the brokerage firm and make the bring everybody to the table in order to make that deal work if it suits everybody. So we'll figure out all those details. Let's continue the shit talking over in Telegram, and let's keep having fun, man. It's great first half heading into the second half. Let's keep rolling. One thing that we have not discussed, but over the next few weeks we will, and we'll bring up the strategy on it, is playoffs. And how these teams, how your teams are going to vie in the playoff pool.
You get choked up like playoffs. No, talking about playoffs. You got choked up when you start talking about playoffs.
No, man. You see, you had the music lined up for the breaking news, but you didn't have it for the Oscar speech. So I keep talking until I can't talk anymore.
No, it's all good, man. You catch me on that stuff. And I was looking at it here because, like, I don't know if you can see that, but, like, spilt a little punch on my shirt, which stinks. So I need to get a new joke shirt, but glad it doesn't show up on camera. Also, camera adds like what 10 pounds, 20 pounds these days to it. So
in my case, 40, but yep. So, all right, guys. Well, listen, hell of a week this week. Congratulations to Dan Snyder's Diary. Welcome to the league. And, you know, I hope you fall flat on your face this coming week because, you know, I want that top spot in I got to win at least 1 week here, man. I mean,
ain't happening.
The way it's going, it probably won't. But
you sound so defeated. Like this. You sound like this. You know what? You sound like this. I'm just going to leave it at that.
Roar. Roar. Meow.
That's how you sound.
Roar.
There we go.
Roar.
Later.